going to Kansas City. If I come, I come, I come, I come. I'm going to Kansas City.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. My name is Emmanuel Cleaver III.
My name is Emil Cleaver.
Every Tuesday we drop a new episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. Check us out most places you get your podcast. Today, this is going to be a show talking about hip hop and a few different aspects of hip hop. One, which might...
Well, first of all, let's tell why we want to talk about this.
All right, why?
This is a subject that we are both very much in love with. Hip hop is more than just rap. It's a way of life. It's a culture.
It's the slang. It's the dress.
It's the dress. It's the dance. It's the talk. And we grew up in this culture of hip hop. So today we're gonna kind of talk about hip hop culture, rap, and some of the different aspects. Because I know that some people who aren't fans, they hear a rap song and they think it's all the same. So it's not all the same. There are different subgenres in hip hop, and today we're going to talk about a few of those.
So today, I wanted to highlight socially conscious and political hip hop, and really just talk about why that is not as popular as some of the other songs. What gets most of the play on the radio? Songs really about party songs talking about gold and material things, talking about women, or women talking about men. It's really materialistic, and not saying I don't like any of that, because I listen to that too. But the question really wanted to talk about and see where it takes us is, why is that hip hop more popular, gets more play on the radio, and people who aren't even familiar with hip hop know more about that kind of stuff than they do about the socially and politically conscious hip hop? So why do you think that is? Are you trying to explain what socially politically conscious rap is? All right, go ahead.
You're assuming a lot that our audience, everybody in the audience knows exactly what you're talking about. So when rap first started, it was pretty much a DJ going to block parties.
Throwing block parties.
Let's go back further than that. In the 1970s, the music programs in schools were kind of cut out. So you no longer had music programs in black schools.
Urban schools.
So they cut out a lot of these music programs at this time. This was around the same time that DJs were throwing block parties. They would throw these block parties playing these records, and then at a certain part of the party, they would stop playing the music, so to speak, and just play the break beat. So they would play the part of the beat started the song that nobody was singing over. And then people would come up and start rapping. Basically, it started out as just party music. My name is E, and I'm in the place to be, and no one can do it quite like me. Something like that.
Throw your hands in the air, wave them like you just don't care.
So
some of the basic
it was
stuff.
bragging and party rhymes. And out of this, Kool Herc, one of the founding fathers, Melly Mel, DJ Grandmaster Flash, and there's one more.
Africa Bambaataa.
So those are the three kind of founding fathers. They're given the credit as the founding fathers of hip hop. They're all DJs. African Bambaataa rapped as well.
Yeah, but really hip hop, DJs were the most important in the beginning.
Yeah. DJ, and there was also break dancing. The dancing came up. It's just as a part of hip hop as rap is, as well as the graffiti writing and the DJ, the four elements of hip hop. So, like I said, the party, they were doing parties, and they would get up on the mic, like Ice-T. I heard Ice-T said the DJs were up there doing the DJ thing, and then after a while they would say, give the mic to somebody and say, hey man, tell everybody in this crowd how dope I am. And then after a while the rapper started saying, well, I'm dope too. He would add his 2 cents about how fresh he was. So that's kind of how hip hop started. It was mainly just fun and braggadocious type style. But then somewhere along the line, things changed. There was a period, and it was probably, you would have to say, NWA. When NWA came along, they came along with what people refer to as gangster rap.
Well, you skipped a whole lot, but all right.
Yeah, I know I skipped a whole lot, but we don't want to make this a 5-hour show. All right. So they weren't the first to, I guess, make this type of music, this type of rap music.
Schoolie D is who Ice-T credits.
Schoolie D is, he's pretty much the first rapper to I guess rap about violence, the
drugs, street life
in a song. But NWA made it popular, and after that, I guess most since it was so popular, most rappers now kind of emulate that sound.
Yeah, but it was the record company. So we're talking about in the days where not a lot of people bought hip hop,
right?
Run DMC, they were probably the first breakthrough group. Then you had the Fat Boys, and then LL Cool J, Houdini. But Run DMC was at the top of the game at one time. There's probably no other time in hip hop where you could clearly say they are the kings.
Right.
But then you had the Beastie Boys,
and LL was the king rapper.
Yeah. You had the Beastie Boys, a Jewish group who came out, and then of course. When white people do something that black people invented, dance, people jump on it. And so people love the Beastie Boys.
They blew up, even though LL wrote a lot of their rhymes. And I'm not discrediting the Beastie Boys because they were a great rap group, alternative rap group, we'll call them that.
They're kind of rock, too.
Yeah, well, and then in the end, they did something else. I don't even know what you describe that. But we're just trying to give you a background into hip hop music. So as hip hop started to grow, more people were buying rap music. There was a time that rap music wasn't even played on the radio. I remember
certain parts of the country.
I remember when radio DJs used to say the station that plays no rap. They would brag about that, playing no rap. And so as rap began to become more popular, these party songs and braggadocious songs, they were still around, but NWA kind of broke the door, and people saw how many records they sold. Record labels, let's say that. Let's say record labels saw how well they did, and so they wanted to sign other groups like this, other rappers like this. And so now this music today is probably the most popular form of rap music. This street life, describing street life, or sexually explicit lyrics. And this, it kind of put conscious rap in the back. So conscious rappers talking about, groups like Public Enemy.
Groups talking about what's going on in the world, the wrongs of society, what's wrong, with government, pointing out those things, really highlighting, the discrepancies, discrimination of people of color, people in the urban core. But then going back to NWA, they sold so many records that every record company that wasn't even paying attention to rap,
right?
They cared nothing about it. But when they saw this group selling millions of albums talking about street life, they wanted to sign a bunch of rappers. And if you were talking socially conscious or politically conscious, they weren't trying to sign you. They were like, we want to hear that, because these record companies saw that can sell. Even though there were groups that sold, prior to that, but NWA sold millions with very little radio play.
Yeah.
And so
I don't think they had any radio play.
So
at that time,
people were, these and so these record companies that cared nothing about hip hop really took over and controlled it.
They took over. And see, this is where I kind of blame the generation of African Americans that are older than us.
Baby boomer generation.
The baby boomers, yes.
And really older, baby boomer and silent generation.
Yeah, I mean, because if you remember, and I'm sure you do, at this time, older black people were saying, oh, this rap music, this is no good. This music is terrible. And at that time, it was pretty much PG. Rap music was PG. And the baby boomers, African-American baby boomers, were rejecting this music, just like their parents had done with rock and roll, just like their parents had done with the blues, just like their parents had done with jazz, just like their parents did with ragtime. I mean, it's just a cycle that African Americans keep falling into. Rap music right now should be controlled by black people. Now, we, of course, are the biggest rappers and we sell the most, but the people behind the scenes who are collecting the most money are not African Americans. And I think that in the 80s, African American baby boomers blew this chance to take over this new music that was created by their children.
Well, so let me. I'm gonna defend the baby boomers and silent generation, because I guess it wasn't just baby boomers, silent generation, the generation above them. I mean, that was new. Yeah, I know. And you even see all that in gospel music when people like Andre Crouch came along.
Kirk Franklin.
They were like, now way before Kirk Franklin. But yeah, Andre Crouch, they're like, that's not gospel music. And then of course people Kirk Franklin, they're like, that's not gospel music. So you do see it all over. But in terms of hip hop, I mean, just look at it from their perspective. For some, I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying they're talking over that. That's not. Why aren't they singing? And then they start using cuss words. I know that wasn't always the case, but I mean, for them who listen to Nat King Cole and then the Temptations, I mean, I can see how they can say that's a little different.
Yeah, well,
it took some time.
Yeah, I can and then I can't, because it's not like hip hop just came out of anywhere. I mean, there's a lot of things that it came out of. It came out of dance hall reggae music. It came out of the Dozens. It came out of a lot of things that were already in black culture. So
you got people like poets like Gil Scott-Heron. And the Last Poets.
The Last Poets. You could pretty much say they were rappers. So I mean, it wasn't new. I think that they should have looked at what was going on around in society. I mean, this is music was being taken out of the schools. Well, I mean, we're black people. We love music. We created music from Africa. We created drums. I mean, we created music. So you take these instruments out of the schools, black kids are going to come up with some way to make music.
And you really, I mean, if you think about just hip hop, how creative it was. They take the break beats, and a lot of it, as you know, started out with disco, taking break beats from disco songs and looping it over and over, and then people would rap over that. I mean, because like you said, they weren't being taught how to play horns and all of that in school anymore. And then just the way sampling different songs became an art form. But okay, so yeah, maybe there should have been some recognition, but as you know, there was a lot of flack. You had people like C. Dolores Tucker. I mean, she was a big, you could say enemy of hip hop. She got mentioned in a few songs.
Yep.
Because if you remember her, she led this thing that she was against the profanity in hip hop. She wasn't the only one. She was just one of the leading opponents of it. But yeah, I mean, you talk about we don't own it today because the older generation didn't embrace it, but did the older generation have the clout and money to oversee it? I mean,
yes, because as you will see on the next episode, the rappers did.
But that would be later.
Okay.
Not in the beginning. Much later.
But there were some black people in the industry already, like Sylvia Rhone. I mean, we can't say that all of them
Right.
were opposed to this. Sylvia Rome discovered, what I shouldn't even say discovered, she formed a rap group that would be the Sugar Hill Gang. So let me just say, at one point, rap wasn't concentrating on street life and sexually explicit lyrics. At one point, music was pretty diverse. So I mean, you had people talking about everything, and then in the late '80s, early '90s, socially conscious rap became big with Public Enemy, X-Clan.
Yeah.
It just became big at that point. I mean, it was Public Enemy was one of the biggest was probably the biggest rap group in the world at one point.
Yeah.
And they were a socially conscious group. But then it changed. Like we're saying, when NWA PE preceded NWA. NWA, once they came along, it kind of changed the game. And so today, when you listen to the radio, I know people who aren't fans of rap or, casually listen to it, they hear it on the radio and they probably think it's all the same. All these rappers talking about killing black men and disrespecting black women. And that is because radio stations, record labels that are owned by whites, they don't sign the socially conscious rappers. So these socially conscious rappers are underground.
But you can't, I mean, the radio stations, black radio stations too. I mean,
the black radio stations have to keep up with the whites radio stations. So if the white radio stations, the big radio stations are playing this other music.
Well, yeah. Okay. But let's back up. So you got places like Kansas City or where we went to school, Little Rock. I mean, white stations in the early '90s weren't playing any hip hop.
That's what I was talking about.
So you're saying to keep up. So you're saying that's why they didn't play hip hop, because
at that time people thought that this was a fad. It would stay around 6 or 7 years and it would be gone. No one, except the people that were in it, had any idea that it would become the biggest music genre in the world. No one could have seen that.
Probably of all time.
Yes, of all time. No one could have seen that. So, I mean, of course, when it first started, no one was being a part of it. Like Sylvia Rome, she was the one who really needs to get a lot of credit for putting rap music in the mainstream.
On the record. Yeah, so Sugar Hill Gang, that was the first
rap group that was signed. It was the first rap group that had a record out. They weren't the first rap group. They weren't even, they were kind of a manufactured rap group. No disrespect to them, but they weren't. Sylvia Rome kind of put them together.
Right.
At that time, you had other legendary rap groups, the Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Cold Crush Brothers.
Grandmaster Caz.
I mean, so there was
a bunch.
There were a bunch of them, Fantastic Four, who were shocked. And if you go back and listen to them when this rap group called Sugar Hill came out, because no one had ever heard of them. But yeah, that was the beginning. And that was, if you remember the Sugar Hill, that was a party song, just having a good time. And that was kind of how rap started, just having a good time. But like we said, at some point it took a shift, and I don't want to blame NWA because I don't think that they planned.
Right, it wasn't NWA's fault. Yeah. They just put out music that they were doing
that was happening,
and it was hot.
Yeah. But the record labels, I blame them. They get the number one blame. The record labels are the ones who saw this, and the record labels are the ones who don't see the destruction that this causes to the black community. All these, I mean, especially in 2022, from 2020, 2022, there's been so many rappers that have been murdered.
Right.
Murdered. I mean, so many rappers that have been murdered. And these record executives and these radio executives, they don't care. They'll keep playing this music. They'll keep promoting the beef. Rappers talking about each other in their song. Meanwhile, Black Star can't get on the radio. They have to, promote however they can.
Alternative.
These rappers that are pushing out a good product, and I'm not saying the other the street rappers aren't, but the socially conscious rappers, they're putting out some good products and they're not being heard. And you have some people out there who have never even heard of these people.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that in the last show a little bit. I mean, there's some great lyricists, people who are actually saying relevant things that most people would know, but they can name these other rappers that talk about all kind of crazy stuff, talk about stuff that you would never want your kids doing or saying, and that's what sells the most. You know, there's no other genre, just to show you how these record companies treated our music. There's no other genre of music where you can cuss, talk about women, talk about killing people, and it's mainstream. Now, I'm not saying there aren't other art form, music forms that do that,
Yeah, of course
but they're
not.
not mainstream.
Right.
This has become mainstream. So why would record execs take this, talking about killing, talking about women,
Selling drugs.
and making it mainstream, where you have hardcore heavy metal that talks crazy stuff like that, but the record execs never made that mainstream.
Punk rock never made it mainstream.
It's the only art form where it doesn't highlight the best of our culture. Now, of course, if you're looking at hip hop, you know, in the early days, if you're looking at women, Roxanne Shante, people like MC Light, Salt and Pepper, and Queen Latifah. It was much different. Now, I mean, the women now don't wear
Those women
clothes.
that we named didn't refer to themselves as bitches.
No. In fact, Queen Latifah had a song just the opposite of that.
Don't call me that. You
Right.
know, but these women, these rappers today refer to themselves as the B word and, you know, brag about it. But the rappers, MC Light, Queen Latifah, Roxanne Shante, they were just kicking lyrics. I mean, they were they had party records, but they also had socially conscious records. But they didn't have any records calling themselves B's.
No, they didn't do that. No, they much more sophisticated in their lyrics. Much more. So I mean, that's where we are today. And so, I mean, I really wanted to hear why you think that is, and I guess we said it. I mean,
I think it's the record labels and record executives pushing a narrative. They don't want to hear positive black people talking about organizing and investing in black banks and lifting up the black woman. They don't want white executives. Don't want people. They don't want that news spread. They don't want that message out there.
No.
Now, I will say one of the most popular rappers the most popular rapper of all time was both Tupac. He was socially conscious, but he was street too. But he was a socially conscious rapper.
Probably because of his background, you
Yeah.
know, growing up around and in the Black Panther, family members in the Black Panther Party. So yeah, I mean, he did talk about killing people too.
Yes, he did. And sleeping with other people's wives and
He did do that,
things like that.
But he did have some songs like "Dear Mama" and "Changes" and
Brenda Got
"Keep
a
Your Head
Baby."
Up" and all that.
He
So
had it. So he was one of the few. Nas, I guess you could say, is like that.
Yeah.
Nas today, he's both socially conscious and he'll do some street stuff, but for the most part, most mainstream rap music is probably not the best for our culture,
No.
for the future of our culture. And it surprised me that when the Me Too movement came, that it didn't hit hip hop, because it seemed like the Me Too movement shut down a lot of things, but it didn't stop rap music or these radio stations from playing, just beeping out the words. But of course, you still understand what they're saying. I mean,
yeah, there was one
they
point
beep it out.
when my kids were little, I couldn't even listen to one of the radio stations here in Kansas City.
I think I know which one.
Yeah, it's not hard. Not gonna say it, but I'm like, man, you might as well play. Why are you beeping it out? I mean, it's ridiculous. It wasn't until they got older, like, okay, now we can listen to it, we can talk about it. But that's what was being played, and that's what most people, especially not of our generation, but even in our generation.
Yeah.
I look at college-educated people, people who are down for the cause, and listen and talk to them about what hip-hop songs they like, and it's that street life.
Yeah. Well, because and we have to say usually the beats are a little different too.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
I mean, they used to say it was a different. I don't like this, but they would say, that's hip hop and that's rap. So what you hear on the radio is rap. Hip hop was considered more of an art form, and people really put thought into what they were saying, and the beats were kind of eclectic. So the beats are a little different for some of those. But Kanye West is, he's a socially conscious rapper.
Yeah.
At least he started out being one.
Yeah.
And he was, probably one of the most successful, if not the most successful, socially conscious rapper who didn't rap about that street life. So, I mean, it can be done. In PE, Public Enemy was huge, and Kanye was huge. So there have been a few, but for the most part, it is, gang activity, street life, selling drugs, and disrespecting black women, and then the black women rappers disrespecting themselves, in my opinion.
Yeah, but they also talked about the men.
Yeah, they talked about the men, which is they're trying to get back. I mean, for the years, these men rappers have talked about women so disrespectfully. Well, I know we're talking bad about rap, but we really do love hip hop music.
I just hate that there's one form of hip hop that's glorified or promoted over the other. There's so many good rappers that most people would never listen to, and not saying that these guys are bad. I'm not highlighting, but you have people like, Snoop, Jay-Z, of course, Tupac, Eminem, and all of those guys are great rappers, no question. But there are some other rappers just as good and some even better than them that the majority of folk don't even know because they don't talk about that stuff. They don't talk about, and you're right. It is the beats. So I don't know why do you think that is? So you have socially conscious hip hop. You got people like Talib Kweli, Yasin Bey / Mos Def, who used to be Mos Def, and those beats are what true hip hop heads would call probably more raw hip hop beats. But then the others, not that they're not hip hop, but they appeal more to the dance crowd. They appeal. That's what more.
It is. It's dance. What you hear on the radio is dance music, and so that's the whole difference. I remember when Tribe Called Quest's first album came out, Low End Theory. No, I'm sorry.
People's Distinctive Travels.
People's Distinctive Travels. It got 5 mics in the Source magazine. That's the most you can get it for.
And the Source used to be the Bible of hip hop.
But there was one, I think Rolling Stone. Yeah, Rolling Stone, of course, who doesn't know nothing about hip hop, said that this is the least danceable rap album I have ever heard in my life. Yeah.
Well, back then, Rolling Stone didn't know jack about hip hop.
Then,
well,
yeah.
Yeah.
But so I mean, it's Tribe Called Quest, socially conscious rappers. A lot of them don't have dance well, that's not even true. You can't say that. Bonita Applebum. I mean, they have
some dance songs. They're not like club songs, that people would put dance routines to.
Yeah.
And it's not ride in the car, blast the bass music either, which became big. That Miami sound, that 808 bass drum,
which is still popular today.
Yeah. So just a little history about hip hop and a lot of socially conscious, politically conscious rappers that don't get credit, but just talk about how we got to where it is. It wasn't always like that. And for those, again, I know we've said it a few times, if you don't know a lot about hip hop and you hear that stuff on the radio and you're like, you can't believe that, or you watch, I don't even know where you go to watch videos except online. And you say you can't believe that. Just please know there are a lot of others out there that
they don't sell it as much, and they're not mainstream, but they're just as good, if not better.
I would say most of them are better. If I did my top 5,
Well, so we have it. Let's do the top.
No, I'm saying top 5. Yeah, we'll do
Bass
this.
rappers of all
top,
time.
Yeah, a lot of people wouldn't even know the people who are in my top 5.
I don't think a lot of our audience is going to ever hear the top 5 we're doing today. So let's go on and get into the. So we want to do the top 5 best socially conscious rappers. And there are a lot. This was hard because there's a lot that I left off.
Yeah, I know.
But so if you are want to hear some rap music where they have a good message, then check out some of these rappers that we talk about. So I went first last time. You go first this time.
Did you go? Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I'm still working on the list.
Okay, so
I know I'll go
Okay,
because it's just so. I'm just saying it's so hard. So there are several spots because this is so hard that folk might have to share some spots. But no, I'm gonna put at number 5. I'm gonna put Guru from the group Gangstar, and then of course he had a lot of solo albums. Jazzmatazz. It's Jazzmatazz Volume 2, A New Reality. It's pretty much socially conscious rap all the way through. But when he was, in the group Gangstar with DJ Premier, they had a lot on the album Hard to Earn, Moment of Truth.
Good stories to tell. Just to get a rep.
Yeah, Tons of Guns.
Yeah,
that was really before its time.
Yeah, it is, because that really should be on the radio today.
Yes,
Gangstar has a song called "Tons of Guns" where they're talking about how there's too many guns on the street. Heavy artillery, no need to be on the street. So yeah, there are. They had a lot of socially conscious music.
So yeah, that's I have Guru at number 5. Number 4. Man, it's a tough one, but I'm gonna go ahead and put Talib Kweli. He had a lot of songs. That's even when the songs aren't specifically about socially conscious, he still has lyrics in the songs.
He's gonna say something.
He's gonna tell the truth. So he has songs like I Try or Get By, probably his biggest hit.
Yeah, some of you may have heard Get By, which was actually a big hit for him.
Yeah, but then his stuff with Mos Def on the Black Star album, Respiration, and Brown Skin Lady, one of my favorite songs, just lifting up black women in that song. So I have, and I might just throw Yasin Bey, his partner in crime, Mos Def, in there, but definitely Talib Kweli. Number 3, I have Common. And Common started off really just a partier, b-boy type person, real hip-hop, but he evolved over time. And, he has songs like The Sixth Sense and The People. Then, of course, he won an Oscar for Glory. But he has just a whole list of songs where he's telling the truth.
And he's probably one of the most popular socially conscious.
Right. But I've met people who have heard of Common because they've been in a lot of movies, but they said I couldn't name one song that he's done. So he's known, but people may not know. You go back and listen to his stuff. It's real classic. Number 2, I have the Blast Master, Knowledge Reigns Supreme Over Nearly Everybody, which he goes by the name of KRS-One. And KRS-One, one of the old school.
The teacher.
That's what they called him. My Philosophy. Love's Gonna Get You. He had a song where he's breaking down the black characters of the Bible. We're talking about in the 80s.
Yeah, he has a song about vegetarianism.
Right. Way before.
Years and years before it was popular.
Just talking about how to eat and all of that. He is a true teacher. That's what they call him, the teacher. And I know probably some folk remember him from the early days. He didn't sell millions upon millions like some others, but
he did pretty good. Yeah, they did pretty good when they were first coming out.
In terms of socially conscious, he's up there. Number 1, I have to, of course, put Chuck D, Public Enemy. They were the revolutionary group called Public Enemy, and probably the biggest socially conscious rap hip-hop song of all time is Fight the Power.
Yes.
That was in Spike Lee's movie Do the Right Thing. But that wasn't anything. When you have It Takes a Nation of millions to hold us back, Public Enemy #1 because they're black. So for the public, general public, black man is the #1 enemy. So I have Public Enemy and Chuck D #1 socially conscious of all time.
That's a pretty good list. That's a pretty good list. So mine is a little similar. So number 5, I'm gonna have Talib Kweli and Mos Def, Black Star, like you talked about. The Black Star and the new Black Star album is socially conscious. Talib Kweli, Get By. Mos Def,
Mathematics is a song he kills. That song with DJ Premier.
Yeah, they have a lot of socially conscious records, a lot of socially conscious songs. So Talib Kweli and Mos Def, number 5. Number 4, I'm gonna go ahead and put Guru from Gangstar. Like you mentioned, he was one of those people, kind of like Talib Kweli. I mean, even when he's not talking about something socially conscious, he's going to say something with some knowledge.
And most people don't even know. I read something online. I when people put comments online, I don't respond. But this is what I almost did because it was a song, one of their songs, and somebody said, Guru is corny.
That's crazy.
I was like, man, I almost replied. It was like, you must be out your mind.
Guru is corny. I don't see how you can say he's corny.
Yeah.
That doesn't
probably somebody that only likes street stuff.
Well, okay. Number 3, I'm going to go with Common. What was that? The Black is Beautiful. No, Beautiful Struggle.
Beautiful Struggle. No,
that was Talib Kweli.
Yeah.
But he had an album focused on black culture. 2 albums, 2 in a row. Well, really, all of his last albums have been
about Beautiful Revolution.
Beautiful Revolution, 1 and 2. But really, his last 5, 6, 7 albums have pretty much all been uplifting black culture. So yeah, Common. I know a lot of people know him from his movies, but he does have some great music, great lyricist.
Yes.
My number 1 and 2 are reversed from yours. So number 2, I have Chuck D. Public Enemy is the most socially conscious group in history, and they were also one of the most popular groups. They are one of the few rap groups that were the biggest rappers in the world, and they were socially conscious, 100% socially conscious.
Yeah.
They didn't make a song about anything else except being uplifting black people. And Chuck D, who was the leader of that group, lead rapper, I have to put him number 2. So number 1 is the Blast Master, KRS-One, the teacher. He's been doing it his whole career. Teaching. I mean, that's why they call him the teacher for a reason. And when we say these guys are socially conscious, they're not so much preaching. I mean, they're just making good music and they're just talking about things. These guys, even KRS-One, when we call him the teacher, it's not like he's up there just teaching. Well, you had to do this and this. He's just making good music, and
right.
the lyrics that he's saying are, beautiful for black people. So I want to let's do a little honorable mention.
Absolutely have to.
So I want to say Immortal Technique. I know a lot of people have probably never heard of this dude. He is underground, but he's a hardcore socially conscious rapper, kind of like P.E. was. You have Speech from Arrested Development. Arrested Development is still making music today. Have a song out with Big Daddy Kane recently that was good. So Speech, and he's, of course, Arrested Development. That's all they do, socially conscious music.
Right.
Speech, Brother J from X-Clan. The group Brand Nubians, I want to throw them in there. Kanye West, socially conscious. Ice Cube, even though he's one of the godfathers of gangster rap, he has a lot of socially conscious music. So those are a few of my honorable mention.
Yeah, Lupe Fiasco, some relatively new. I want to lift up Lupe Fiasco and J. Cole.
J. Cole,
Kendrick Lamar.
He should probably actually... he should probably be on the list.
Who, Kendrick?
Yeah, he should probably be in the top
I
five.
didn't put him simply because these guys have been doing
Yeah,
it.
they've
They
been
laid
doing
the
it longer.
foundation.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Kendrick, Lupe, J. Cole. I mean, there are some others. I'm glad you talked about X-Clan. I think, and you said Brand Nubian.
Yeah.
I think you can say Tribe.
Yeah,
Put Tribe
you
in
can say
there,
Tribe
and
and
De
De
La
La.
Soul. And
Jungle Brothers. You can say everybody from the
yeah,
Dave
Jungle
Talents
Brothers,
group.
absolutely. Diggable Planets, had some
Planets.
socially conscious.
Queen Latifah,
Yeah,
MC
absolutely.
Light.
MC Light, you got to put all
They
them.
were in. You got to put them in there. L Boogie, Lauryn Hill.
Lauryn Hill,
Yes, I mean she could probably easily be number 6
yeah,
on the list. But yeah, so there are a few out there, and if you're one of those people who aren't really into hip hop, go check some of these people out that we named.
yeah. Of course, I mean there are some big names out there that have socially conscious songs. You name some of them. People like Nas, Rakim, and of course Kanye and Tupac. Folk like that who
Even Jay-Z.
Yeah, Jay-Z has a few. Jay-Z has some. Yeah. But that's our list. Let us know what you think. Socially conscious rappers that may have, that need to be mentioned, that keep the struggle going for the people. And check us out every Tuesday. We drop a new episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. Check us out most places you get your podcast.
Peace.
I'm of the models. Here I am. I come. That's where I'm from. Yeah.